I wasn't supposed to be home that night. Honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be in the city. My Friday shift at the tech support center got canceled last minute. Some system-wide maintenance thing that knocked out half our ticketing system. My manager sent a quick message on Slack. Go enjoy your weekend early, guys. We'll pick back up Monday. So just like that, I had the evening free. I remember sitting in my car in the company parking lot, debating whether to text Mara or not. I could have told her I was off early, but for once, I wanted to surprise her. No big reason, just something spontaneous. We'd been feeling a little distant lately, and I thought, I don't know, maybe a little gesture might pull us back in. Something normal. Something warm. I stopped at the grocery store and picked up ingredients for pasta. Real ingredients. Not the usual Jared sauce or microwavable shortcuts. I even grabbed a cheap little bottle of Chianti and a mini bouquet of white tulips. Her favorite. I thought it might be nice to set the mood. Light a candle, put on that old playlist she made during our first year of marriage. Maybe we'd dance in the kitchen like we used to. Stupid, corny stuff. But I missed it. I pulled into the driveway just past 6:40. Her car was already there, which was unusual. Mara always worked late on Fridays, especially this time of year. Something about Q4 reviews and post-holiday planning. I figured maybe she'd come home early, too, and we'd both be surprised. Win-win, right? But as soon as I stepped onto the porch, something felt wrong. No lights on. The curtains were still drawn. Usually, by now, she'd have music playing or the living room TV buzzing in the background. But it was quiet. Still. Too still. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Dark. Cold. Not nobody's home cold, emotionally cold. The kind that crawls into your chest and stays there. I set the groceries down on the kitchen island and glanced around. The place was tidy, untouched. No coat on the rack. No heels kicked off near the doorway like usual. It was like she'd stepped out for a minute. But her keys were on the hook, and her purse was slumped on the chair. That's when I saw her phone. It was sitting on the counter, face up, glowing. I don't usually pay attention to stuff like that. We respect each other's privacy, or at least we used to. But it was hard to miss the screen. It was mid-upload. 5 of 8 uploaded. NYE Bash 2026. The title hit me like a slap. New Year's Eve. Her company's annual party. The one I wasn't invited to. I remember asking about it weeks ago. She told me it was for employees only, no spouses unless you both worked there. Stupid HR policy, she said with a shrug. I didn't push it. We weren't in a great spot that week, and I didn't want to start another fight. So I stayed home that night, alone. I watched the ball drop on TV, opened a bottle of cider, and went to bed before midnight. She texted around 1:30 a.m. Said she was staying the night at her friend Tasha's because they were too drunk to drive. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But now her phone was betraying her. Slowly, silently, one photo at a time. I didn't touch the phone. I swear on everything, I didn't scroll or swipe. I just looked. The screen showed thumbnails, 8 photos total, 5 already uploaded. And that was all I needed to see. The first photo. Mara in a silver satin dress I didn't recognize. Her head thrown back in laughter, perched on some guy's shoulder. His face was half out of frame, but you could see enough to know he wasn't just a coworker. The way her body leaned into him, too comfortable, too familiar. The second. The same man's hand firmly planted on her lower back. She was facing the camera, smiling with her eyes closed. That fake, dreamy smile she only uses when she's trying to look perfect. The third hit harder. It was a mirror selfie. Bathroom. Harsh lighting. Her lipstick was smeared, and her necklace clasp was turned around to the front, like it had been hastily thrown back on. Her expression was off. Flushed cheeks, tousled hair, pupils dilated. And behind her, barely in frame, was the man again, adjusting his tie in the mirror like he'd just put it back on. It didn't take a genius to connect the dots. But the fourth photo, that's the one that stopped my heart. It was a wide sh*T, probably taken by a professional photographer. A crowd of people under string lights. Music, drinks, streamers falling like snow. And right there in the center Mara, caught mid-laugh, glass in hand, silver dress shimmering. But her smile had frozen, because her eyes were locked onto the camera. Correction, locked onto me. Because here's the thing, I had gone to the party. For 5 minutes, maybe less. I wasn't planning to, but I'd been feeling stupid and sentimental that night. Around 11:30, I got in my car and drove downtown. I figured I'd peek in through the lobby, maybe catch a glimpse of her in her element, see her smile for real, not through a text or a fake Instagram story. I didn't tell her I was coming. I just wanted to feel closer to her. I stood near the back entrance, in the shadows, where the caterers moved in and out. Nobody noticed me, but I saw her, laughing, swirling, champagne in hand. And then she saw me, just for a second. Her eyes locked on mine across the room. She froze, and I turned around and left. I figured I'd ruin the mood, overstepped, made her uncomfortable. I told myself she probably didn't even recognize me. It was dark after all, and I hadn't dressed up, just a hoodie and jeans. I drove home without saying a word. But that photo, that fourth one, it confirmed everything. She'd seen me, she recognized me, and she panicked. She hadn't known I was coming. But I was there, and now I was here, standing in the kitchen, staring at a phone still uploading photos from a night I wasn't supposed to witness. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely think. A soft breeze rattled the blinds. The refrigerator hummed. The normal, background noises of home felt foreign, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. I walked over to the sink and splashed cold water on my face, trying to steady myself. My hands were shaking, not from rage, not yet, but from that particular kind of betrayal that doesn't scream. It whispers, that quiet voice that says, "This isn't what it looks like," even when you know exactly what it is. I stared down at the cutting board, at the unopened box of pasta, the wine bottle still in the bag. I'd wanted to surprise her. I thought maybe we could find our rhythm again, that maybe the distance between us wasn't permanent. But now I wasn't so sure. I leaned against the counter and looked around the kitchen, our kitchen, and everything felt unfamiliar, like I was a guest in someone else's story. I took one last look at the phone before turning away. Photo 6 was starting to load, but I didn't stay to watch it finish. I didn't sleep that night. After seeing those photos, I left the kitchen, walked upstairs in a daze, and sat on the edge of our bed, still made untouched. Her pillow looked perfect, like it hadn't been used in days. Come to think of it, she'd been crashing on the couch lately, claimed she was falling asleep watching Netflix, said I snored too much. I believed it. I always wanted to believe her. I sat there for hours. My mind rewound and replayed every conversation we'd had in the last 3 months. And slowly, patterns began to form. Lines connected. The signs were there. They'd always been there. I just ignored them. She'd been working late more often, but not in a way that made sense. She worked remote. Her company had gone fully hybrid last year, and she used to joke about how she never had to wear real pants anymore. But starting around September, she suddenly had to go in more. Said her new manager, Nick, was cracking down on in-person collaboration. Nick, that name had popped up more and more. First, it was innocent. She mentioned him like you'd mention any coworker. Nick wants this project done by Friday, or Nick's making us redo the report format. I even joked once, sounds like Nick needs to relax. She laughed, a little too hard. Then came the password change. One night, I reached for her phone by instinct. We'd been watching a movie, and mine was charging in the other room. I just wanted to check the time, but when I picked up hers, the screen was locked. New passcode. I looked over at her and raised an eyebrow. "You changed your password?" She didn't even flinch. "Yeah, IT told us to update security. Same rules for personal and work devices now." Sounded legit. She was always a stickler for policy. Still, something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. But I didn't say anything. Didn't push. A few weeks after that, she started asking strange questions. "Do you think you get too tense sometimes?" I was brushing my teeth when she asked that. I turned to her, confused. "What? You just, I don't know. You clench your jaw a lot." And your shoulders are always tight. It's like you're carrying something heavy all the time. I work in support, I said, spitting toothpaste into the sink. It's a tense job. She nodded, but her eyes didn't move. Felt rehearsed, like she wanted to say more but thought better of it. Then came the recordings. That one nearly broke me. It started after an argument about the laundry, the dumbest fight. She'd promised to do it before the weekend, but Sunday came and the basket was still overflowing. I asked her about it and suddenly she snapped. Why are you always criticizing me? I'm not. I started, but she held up her phone. I'm recording this, just so I remember how I feel when you talk to me like this. I froze. What are you doing? It helps me process. My therapist suggested it. I didn't even know she was seeing a therapist. Since when? She brushed past me, heading for the stairs. Since I realized you never really listen. I stood there, feeling like the villain in a movie I didn't even know I was in. Later that night, I tried to apologize, not for what I said, but for how things had spiraled. But she wasn't interested. She put in headphones and scrolled through her phone until she fell asleep. Things got colder after that. Colder and more calculated. She stopped saying, I love you first. Said she was tired. Said she was overwhelmed. She had headaches more often. Claimed her migraines were back. Stopped initiating anything physical. Told me it wasn't me. It was just a phase. But it didn't feel like a phase. Felt like a shutdown. Still, I kept telling myself it was just stress. Q4 stress. Cold weather stress. Hormonal stress. Whatever excuse I could manufacture, I grabbed it with both hands. Because the alternative, the truth clawing at the back of my mind, was too awful to face. Then I overheard her in the bathroom. It was one of those rare mornings when we were both home at the same time. She was in the master bathroom, door slightly cracked, water running, and I was grabbing a pair of socks from the dresser. That's when I heard it. Her voice, low and urgent. No, he doesn't suspect a thing. I've got it under control. My heart stopped. I stood completely still, my foot half in a sock. There was a pause. Then a muffled laugh. I know, right? It's honestly kind of pathetic. Then silence. I backed away from the door like it had burned me. I went downstairs, sat at the kitchen table, and stared at the wall for a long time. She came down 20 minutes later like nothing happened. Kissed my cheek. Said she was heading to work early. I nodded. Smiled even. That's the thing about betrayal, it's not just the act. It's the performance around it. The way they pretend you're imagining it. The gaslight in the hallway they keep dimming until you doubt your own eyes. One night I asked her directly, is there something going on? She looked up from her laptop. What do you mean? You've been distant. You're not here, not really. I just need to know if you're okay. She closed the lid slowly. I'm fine, Adam. You don't seem fine. She took a long breath. I just need some space. That's all she said. Not, I love you. Not, it's nothing. Just space. From that night on, I started paying attention differently. I started writing things down. Times she left. Excuses she gave. Her mood before and after calls. I started noticing her outfits, when she wore perfume, when she didn't. When she showered right after getting home, and when she didn't touch the towel at all. And I noticed the Uber receipts. She thought I didn't see them. Her emails were synced to the shared iPad in the kitchen. She must have forgotten. I didn't go looking. It just lit up one evening while I was cooking. The screen said, your Uber is arriving. Pickup, corner of Main and 6th. Destination, Allerton Hotel. I didn't say anything. Not that night. Not the next. But something inside me had shifted. The doubt that used to whisper was now screaming. And once you hear that scream, you can't unhear it. I started watching her more closely, studying her. Not in a jealous or obsessive way. More like someone trying to decode a language they used to be fluent in. She'd always been expressive with her hands. Now she kept them hidden, folded neatly in her lap. She laughed less. Smiled without showing teeth. Her phone was always face down, always locked, always buzzing. I timed it once. 12 texts in an hour. She said it was a group chat about Secret Santa. Sure. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday. She came home late, again, and tossed her bag onto the couch. I was watching a rerun of some mindless sitcom, pretending not to care. But then I noticed something. Her blouse was buttoned wrong. One button off. I looked up at her, and she noticed. She followed my eyes, glanced down, and froze. Oh, weird. Must have rushed changing. Changing from what? She was supposed to be at work. I didn't ask, because I already knew. I remember the exact time she came home that night. 3:17 a.m. It wasn't the first late night, but it was the latest. I'd been staring at the ceiling for hours, not really thinking, just waiting, listening for the sound of tires in the driveway, the garage door, the click of her heels on the tile. Any sign she was still tethered to my reality. But what I heard first was her voice. She was laughing into her phone. A carefree, careless laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Yeah, she said between giggles. He still thinks I'm at girls' night. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just listened. A pause, a softer tone. Then, I miss you already. The door clicked shut behind her. The hallway creaked. She walked right past the bedroom. No apology, no explanation, just the sound of her shower starting 10 minutes later. I laid there wide awake, waiting for the final nail. I already knew. The thing about knowing is it doesn't come all at once. It's like a storm creeping over the horizon. You smell the change in the air. You feel the pressure drop. You know it's going to hit. But when the rain finally falls, it still feels like a shock. I got out of bed an hour later and went downstairs. I didn't even have a plan. I just couldn't lie next to her and pretend anymore. Her purse was on the kitchen table, half-zipped. Her phone charger was still coiled inside, but the power bank was missing. She had it with her. I opened my laptop, sat down in the dark, and went searching. Not her phone. I wasn't that reckless yet. But her email, her cloud storage, our shared iPad that she rarely remembered was synced to her gallery. It didn't take long. A message from someone named Nick Blackheart. The heart emoji hit me harder than the name. She'd mentioned Nick before, her new manager. Said he was a bit of a perfectionist. I remember once joking, "You complain about him a lot. You sure he's not just madly in love with you?" She'd rolled her eyes and said, "Please, he's married." Apparently not married enough. I opened the most recent message. "Tonight was incredible. You looked unreal. That dress should be illegal. I'll be thinking about you all day. Also, love the sneaky video. You're evil." There was a video attachment. I hesitated for all of 5 seconds, and then pressed play. The screen lit up with movement. A toast, champagne flutes, flickering candlelight. Her voice, her laugh, as the camera turned toward the man sitting next to her. He leaned in, nuzzled her neck, whispered something I couldn't make out. Then she turned the camera to herself. "I know I said I wouldn't record anything," she whispered, "but just for us. Our little escape." She winked. That line stuck with me. Our little escape. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding, chest tight. That was it. That was the confirmation. The affair wasn't just a possibility anymore. It was a fact. I should have felt angry, or betrayed, or sick, but what I felt first was relief, because now I didn't have to guess anymore. I didn't have to keep pretending, gaslighting myself, or walking on eggshells around the woman who used to fall asleep on my chest. She was gone, and she'd taken every bit of trust with her. That night, I found her Instagram pulled up on her laptop. That wasn't unusual. She was always logged in. But what caught my eye was the comments section on one of Nick's older posts. A photo of a rooftop dinner, artsy, filtered, wine glasses clinking. Not a single mention of her. But down in the comments, one stood out. "Gorgeous view. Bet Carol loved it, 2 hearts. Carol. His wife." I clicked her profile. Public. God bless oversharing. Her entire feed was flowers, babies, brunch photos, and filtered happiness. She had no idea. I stared at her latest post, a photo of her and Nick at some winter charity event. Her smile was soft, Real. The caption read, 10 years, 2 kids, 1 life. Wouldn't trade it for anything. My throat tightened. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to send a bomb into someone else's life. But then again, hadn't they already done that? It was 5:07 a.m. when I opened my email and drafted the message. I attached **TS of the texts, a still from the video, and a note. Short. Factual. Hi Carol. I'm really sorry to send this. My name is Adam. I believe your husband Nick is having an affair with my wife Mara. I don't know how long it's been going on, but here's what I found tonight. I thought you deserved to know the truth. Adam. I hit send. I didn't reread it. Didn't overthink it. 5 minutes later, Mara walked into the hallway. Hair damp. Face pale. Phone in her hand. Screen lit up like a warning sign. Buzzing. Again. And again. And again. She stopped when she saw me. I didn't say a word. Just looked at her. She looked like someone had told her the world was ending. Not guilty. Not sorry. Panicked. She stared at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Like I had betrayed her. That's the thing about cheaters. They don't expect to be exposed. Not like this. They expect to control the story. Shape it. Minimize it. Recast themselves as the victim when the curtain finally falls. But I hadn't given her the stage. I torn the curtain down. She walked past me slowly and sat on the couch. Her hands trembled. Her mouth opened, then closed again. I can explain. I laughed quietly. The kind of laugh that comes from exhaustion. Not humor. Explain what, exactly? She swallowed. Her phone buzzed again, and she flinched. I stepped forward. Calm. Cold. I saw the texts. I saw the video. I know about Nick. I know everything. Her shoulders slumped. Her voice cracked. It's not serious. It was just a mistake. There it was again. A mistake. The word people use when they run out of real defenses. You don't end up at a hotel with someone by accident, I said. You don't record it and call it an escape by accident. She didn't argue. Just sat there, breathing fast, trying to stay composed. I turned away. I didn't want to look at her anymore. I walked into the hallway, down toward our bedroom, and stopped in front of the laundry room. That's when I noticed something. Her overnight bag was already packed, tucked under the bench, hidden but not well. It wasn't from tonight. It had been packed before. Extra shoes, toiletries, a new change of clothes. She hadn't expected to stay here. She was planning to go quietly, conveniently on her own timeline. That's when it hit me. This affair wasn't impulsive. It was orchestrated. I picked up the bag and walked it back to the living room. Dropped it in front of her. Going somewhere? I asked. She looked up. Her face was blank now. No tears. No panic. Just silence. Because she knew the performance was over. All the scripts, the excuses, the deflections, the therapy speak, they didn't work anymore. She wasn't in control of the narrative now. And for the first time in a long time, neither was I. I was done being quiet. Done being understanding. Done playing a role in her story. And something told me this wasn't even the worst part. She locked herself in the bedroom after that. No screaming. No dramatic collapse. Just quiet footsteps down the hall and the soft click of the door shutting. I stood in the living room for a long time, staring at the overnight bag on the floor like it was evidence at a crime scene. Because that's what it felt like now. Not a marriage falling apart, but a case unraveling. I didn't chase her. Didn't knock. Didn't demand answers. Something had shifted inside me, and it wasn't anger. It was clarity. I went back to the kitchen, sat down with my laptop and started digging. Not emotionally this time, but methodically. I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for truth. The kind that doesn't care about feelings. Her cloud account was still logged in on the shared desktop. She must have assumed I was too respectful to ever look. That assumption was the first real mistake she'd made. I opened her deleted messages folder. That's where I found J. No heart emoji. No nickname. Just a single letter, clean, neutral, intentional. The conversation history wasn't long. But it didn't need to be. Every message felt like it had been written by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Already got audio of him sounding aggressive. Good. Make sure the timeline lines up. He raised his voice last Thursday, right? Yeah, I can make that work. Perfect. You file after the incident. My hands went cold. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't venting. This was coordination. I scrolled slowly, forcing myself to read every word. There were references to dates, to specific arguments we'd had, arguments I remembered clearly. Ones she'd provoked. Ones she'd escalated. Ones she'd recorded. The recordings. My chest tightened as I realized what they were really for. She wasn't documenting her feelings. She was building a case. I pulled up our bank statements next. I'd never had a reason to look closely before. We'd always trusted each other with money. Or at least I'd trusted her. Over the last 2 months, there were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Not large ones. Smart ones. For $100 here. $700 there. Always under 1,000. Always spaced out. Total. $9,400. I cross-referenced the dates with her calendar. Most lined up with work lunches or team offsites. One lined up with a realtor appointment she'd labeled as doctor. I felt sick. Then I found the lease. It was saved as a PDF under a folder labeled Old Docs. Condo across town. 1 bedroom. Move-in date. 4 days from now. Her maiden name on the paperwork. Not married. Not attached. She hadn't been planning to leave me emotionally. She'd been planning to leave me legally ruined. The final piece was the draft restraining order. It was a Word document. Half-finished but detailed. My name. Our address. A timeline rewritten like fiction. Phrases like pattern of **midation and escalating emotional volatility. Listed witnesses. Her 2 friends. The same ones who always told her I was too intense. Who joked about her surviving marriage with a tech guy. I sat back and stared at the screen. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't reactive. This was premeditated. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was setting a trap. I backed everything up. **TS. PDFs. Metadata. I sent copies to myself, to my brother, and to a friend who worked in legal compliance. I didn't tell anyone the full story yet. I just said I needed everything timestamped and safe. Then I waited. She came out of the bedroom an hour later. Her eyes were dry, her posture straight, not remorseful, composed. She'd recalculated. "What are you doing?" she asked, seeing the laptop. "Learning," I said. She looked at the overnight bag, then at me, then back at the screen. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she said carefully. That was when I knew. She wasn't sorry. She was adjusting strategy. I turned the laptop toward her and let her see it all. The messages, the lease, the draft, the withdrawals. Her face didn't collapse. It didn't crumble. It stilled. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Her eyes scanned, not in panic but calculation, searching for angles, leverage, exits. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time since I'd known her, she had no script. I stood up slowly. "You didn't just lie to me," I said. "You tried to erase me." She didn't answer. She just stared. And in that moment I understood something crucial. This wasn't about love. This wasn't even about betrayal. This was about control. And she'd lost it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, lights off, laptop open, watching the glow from the screen flicker across walls I no longer trusted. Every corner of the house felt unfamiliar now. Every drawer, every photo frame, every speck of dust. It all felt staged, like a set she'd built for the story she wanted people to believe. The story where I was the villain, and she was the survivor. I clicked through the draft restraining order again. It was detailed, alarmingly so. Not just vague accusations, but bullet points, dates, incidents, quotes pulled from old arguments, twisted just enough to sound menacing. One even had a fake timestamp, audio file. December 3rd, 2025. Subject raised voice, called her unstable, slammed door. I remember that night. We'd argued about groceries. She said I forgot to pick up oat milk. Again. She kept pushing, picking. I finally said, "You've been acting unstable lately?" Then walked out to get air. No door slam. No threats. Just exhaustion. But here, in her version of reality, it was evidence of escalation. I clicked over to the shared cloud drive. Dug deeper. There was a folder buried under 5 layers of nested directories. Fin_dux for 2022. Nothing financial inside. Just videos. 6 of them. Each one short. No longer than 2 minutes. Each one damning. The first showed her at dinner with a man I didn't recognize. Not Nick. Not Jay. Someone older. Wearing a gray blazer and wire-rimmed glasses. They were in a booth. Dim lighting. 2 wine glasses. He was holding a folder. If he pushes back, the man was saying, "We leak it. You cry. We win." She laughed. Full belly laugh like it was a joke they'd told a dozen times. "He won't," she said. "He folds every time." I paused the video. Rewound. Watched again. Same words. Same laughter. Same glass of red wine swaying in her hand like none of this was real. The second video was worse. Same man, now identified in her contacts as Grant. From the conversation, he was either a lawyer or pretending to be one. A con of some kind. The video showed him handing her a check across a table. "Retainers covered," he said. "The rest comes after the asset split." She took the check without blinking. This wasn't about divorce. It wasn't even about revenge. This was profit. I sat frozen, jaw clenched, watching the other clips in quiet horror. One of them showed her practicing a breakdown in front of the mirror. Hands shaking, voice warbling, rehearsing lines like, "He always said I was crazy. He isolated me. I didn't even recognize myself anymore." She'd recorded it like a self-tape audition. I didn't recognize her anymore either. By 4 a.m. I'd compiled everything: videos, **TS, messages, emails, bank records, timeline discrepancies. I structured it into folders, labeled them clearly: evidence_audio / evidence_photos / fair_nick / conspiracy_grant / draft_o / financial_theft / I zipped it all and sent it to 3 places. My personal encrypted drive, my brother's law office email, and a friend I knew from college, now a compliance officer with federal experience. Then I wrote a brief email summary. Urgent. Legal and digital evidence attached. Possible fraud, conspiracy to commit perjury, identity misrepresentation, and financial misconduct. Please confirm safe receipt. Adam. I closed the laptop, stood up, and stretched for the first time in hours. My body felt electric. Not alive, just buzzing. Like something inside had been sleeping for too long, and now it was wide awake and angry. That morning, Mara came downstairs like nothing had happened. Hair brushed, robe tied neatly, coffee brewing like clockwork. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. She thought silence was her reset button, that if she just waited long enough, I'd pretend none of this was real. She poured herself a cup and leaned against the counter. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't answer. I walked over to the dining table, picked up a USB drive I'd labeled her story, MOV, and slid it across to her. She looked down at it. "What is this?" she asked, tone shifting. A flicker of tension in her voice. "Your work," I said. "All of it. Congratulations. You wrote a hell of a script." She didn't touch it. I leaned in just slightly. "Except now I've got the director's cut." Her jaw flexed. She tried to regroup. You could see it in her eyes. Scanning, recalibrating, trying to find the next best version of the lie. But I gave her no space to rewrite the scene. "Here's what's going to happen," I said calmly. "You're going to leave this house. Today. You're not going to contact me. Not your friends. Not your backup actor Grant. And definitely not Nick unless you want Carol to press charges for conspiracy too. Adam. Don't," I said, sharper now. "You don't get to Adam me anymore. You were never planning to leave me. You were planning to destroy me and profit while doing it." Her silence was confirmation enough. You weren't trying to escape, I said. You were trying to rewrite the ending. You wanted to be the victim, the one with the tearful post and the GoFundMe and the custody of our mutual friends. But the thing is, I held up the USB again. You left the script out. She finally spoke. Low, controlled. You think anyone will believe you? That made me laugh, bitter and sharp. I don't care who believes me, I said. I've got proof. Not stories. Not feelings. Proof. Your face. Your voice. Your money trail. Your fake restraining order with metadata that links to your own laptop. She picked up the USB. Finally, her hands shook. You should leave, I said, before I have to call someone to make you. She stood there for a moment longer. Then she turned, no apology, no performance, and walked out of the kitchen. Upstairs. To pack, maybe, or to make a final call. Didn't matter. The game was over. The blueprint had been found. And I wasn't playing her script anymore. I thought I'd seen it all. But curiosity dragged me back into her cloud drive. I found a locked folder labeled fin_docs_2022. The password? Her old cat's name. Inside were 6 videos. In one, Mara was at dinner, not with Nick or Jay, but a third man, Grant, the fake lawyer. He was clear. If he pushes back, we leak it. You cry, we win. She smiled, confident. Another video showed him handing her a check. Retainers covered. Rest comes after the split. This wasn't just cheating. This was planned character assassination. Nick was a decoy. Grant was the architect. And I wasn't just a betrayed husband. I was the mark. Every fight, every recording, every twist of the knife, it was theater. And the worst part? I almost believed her. I filed first. Lawyer, police, digital evidence, everything. Grant? Not even licensed. Now under investigation. Mara? Facing charges. I sold the house, left the city, changed my number. 6 months later, I met Jane. Quiet. Grounded. When I told her the story, she didn't flinch. She listened. No games. No guilt. Just peace. Mara once said, "It's just a night out." But that night, the one she thought would ruin me, freed me. She tried to script my collapse. Instead, I rewrote the ending. And this time, it wasn't a trap. It was an escape.